Hi all, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we will be discussing about top 25 most commonly asked Hibernate interview questions. So I will not only explain you about the questions and the answers, I will try to relate it with the real life examples. So let's get started. Before going ahead with the video, I request you please subscribe to the channel where we make videos on Java, Spring Boot, microservices, REST API and the different backend technologies. So if you see in our last video, we have made one videos about Spring Data JPA interview questions. So it is being viewed by most of the viewers. So I will suggest you after this video you can watch this Spring Data JPA interview questions so that it will be helpful to crack the interview easily. So in this video I'll be mostly covering like most commonly asked 25 Hibernate interview questions with a clear examples, and I will try to relate it with some real life explanations. And so it is this video is for someone who is preparing for Java backend developer interview questions, or of giving some interview in TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, or any of the service-based or product-based companies. If you are hiring for any backend developer specific to the Java technology, then this is videos is one of the most important video. So let's get started with the video. So first question is, what is Hibernate and why it is used? So this is the one of the most important question asked by every interviewer. So you can explain like Hibernate is like the translator between our Java code and the database. So here instead of writing our manual SQL queries for every insert, update, or the delete operations, so Hibernate take care all this query automatically. So we just need to work on this with the objects, and the Hibernate handled like how they are saved in the database. So if you see in this example, so when I create a student object, and if we call this session.save with this student object, then Hibernate is actually internally converted it into an SQL insert statement. So with this it makes our code more cleaner and portable and like faster to development, because we are not writing the query by ourselves. Next question is, what is ORM? So ORM we can explain is that like heart of the Hibernate. Think of it as an like automatic bridge that connect our Java object to the database tables. So here we don't need to manually handle the result set or the SQL, that Hibernate does it for you. So here if we see in this user class is directly linked with the user table. How it is doing using this entity annotations, and how this named variable is tagged with the table columns. So if you see, we have used column name equal to username. So username column will be tagged to the name in our object. Just by using the annotations, Hibernate understand how to store or the retrieve the data. So next question, it is definitely asked like, what is the difference between Hibernate and the JDBC? So JDBC is like if we take a general example. So JDBC is like we are like in manual driving. So where we have to control our like accelerator, brake, and everything. So everything in this JDBC means the SQL queries, writing the SQL queries, connecting with the database, committing the transaction. And on the other hand, Hibernate is like you can say it's like automated driving. So mostly it's handled mostly most of the things for us. So if we see in this Hibernate internally uses this JDBC, but simplifies your work by generating the SQL automatically, and it also added extra features like caching, lazy loading, and transaction handling. So that's why most modern enterprise applications prefer Hibernate over the plain JDBC. Next question, like they will ask you like explain the Hibernate architectures. So you can things like think of an Hibernate architectures like the workflow where it will go from one step to another state, or one pipeline to another pipeline, where we will be having all the configurations reading from hibernate.cfg.xml. And next we have like a session factory that act like a connection pool, and that create only this once per the applications, and the connection is used to interact with the database. And then it comes to like transaction where ensure that acid operation like atomicity consistency. So those kind of operation is practically, or we can say is involved. Finally we will use this query or the criteria API to fetch or update the data. Difference between session and session factory. So you can explain like the session factory is for the creating the session, what I just says. It is for the once the DB connection. It will be like one object only, and the session is the multiple object. Like in each and every operation, the session is being used. So if you see in this example, we are using we are fetching one student details is based on the ID. Our next questions they will ask like what is the status of an Hibernate object. So before going ahead with the video, I would request you please subscribe to the channel, and if you want any specific videos, you can please mention the topic on the comment section. So let's continue with the video. So the states of the Hibernate object, first is when you create an object, it is called a transient state, and once you save it using the Hibernate, it's become the persistence. So after the session is closed, so it becomes detached. So take an example of the employee, like when you joined the company, we are in, before joining we are called the transient period, then when we are working, then it is called the persistent, then after the resignation it is called the detached. Next questions is that what is the difference between get and load method. So get hits the database immediately and result is null if there is no record is found, and load returns a proxy and throws an exception if not found. So we must usually use get when you're not sure whether the record is there or not. The next question is what is Hibernate caching. So so Hibernate caching reduces like database hits. So if the same object is fetched twice in a session, the second time when the second time it is used to fetch, it will take from the cache instead of directly heading to the database. So we can even use the second level cache like cache for the faster rate. So what is the difference between save, persist, and save or update method? Save returns the generated ID, while persist does not. Or save or update, it check if the record is exist. If the record is exist, it update, otherwise it create a new operation. Next question is that what is the inheritance strategies in Hibernate. So Hibernate support inheritance also same as like the ops concept support. So all the child classes can share the same table or have the separate ones. Lazy versus eager loading. So lazy loading s- saves the performance, like it fetches related data only when needed, and eager loading it's simpler but can use unnecessary queries. So always prefer lazy unless you need all the data at once. So what are the roles of hibernate.cfc.xml? So this file, if you see, this file is the Hibernate main configuration point. It defines the database connection details, which kind of dialect we need to use depending upon the which database we are using. So like that. So without it, Hibernate does not know like how to connect or map, how to connect and how to map with the database. So how does Hibernate handle the transactions? So Hibernate provide built-in transaction support. So we can start a transaction, perform operations, and commit or rollback if needed. So this ensures that atomicity is like means either commit or cover all the things or don't execute anything. So what is SQL? So SQL is the a Hibernate query language. It is like the SQL, but it works with the class names instead of a table name. So it is portable. Even if you change the database, the SQL queries is still work. So what is criteria API? The criteria API is the perfect when filtering or conditions are built at runtime. For example, like searching, so like search form. So what are Hibernate annotations? So if we see the few of our previous example, we have used like entity annotation, table annotation, ID annotation. So these are called all the Hibernate annotations. So instead of using like XML format, we can directly map the entities using at the entity, at the table, at the ID. So this makes like code more cleaner and easier to maintain. So what is the difference between merge and update? So when you update a detached object directly, so update can throw an error if another session is hold that, and merge is safer. It copies the data into the persistent instance and managed by Hibernate. So what is dirty checking? So dirty checking means Hibernate track object changes. When the transaction commits, it automatically generates a SQL update statement for the modified fields. So what is batch processing? So batch processing avoids memory overflow when inserting a large data sets. So for example, we are dealing with thousands or lakhs of insert operations. So instead of directly doing in a single flow, we'll use flush and we will use like batch. So we will take an in every session we can take like 100 or 500 operation. Then we will use flushing and clearing the session every few iterations. So that helps to like perform keep the performance optimal. So difference between first level and the second level cache. So first level cache automatically like works automatically per the session, and the second level cache we need to use EH cache, Redis, uh, or the stores object beyond the session for the global use. And then this is the most asked question, like what is n plus one select problem we face in the JPA or Hibernate or like that. So this problem happens when the Hibernate loads a parent records, then fetch each child separately. So to fix that, we can use like a join fetch or at the rate fetch annotations, like we can mention the fetch mode as joined to load that everything in one query. So next, how do you enable like logging in Hibernate? So by enabling this property Hibernate dot show SQL, Hibernate dot format SQLs, so Hibernate prints the generated SQL statement in the console. So that this is very useful for debugging purpose. So what is Hibernate dialect? As we are earlier discussed, uh, depending upon the which database, we need to change that Hibernate dialect. So dialect is like an language setting for the Hibernate. So it ensures Hibernate generate compatible SQLs for the chosen database. Like in here we are using if we are using MySQL, then we can use MySQL 8 dialect. So what is performance optimizing uh, optimization techniques? So you can explain like we need to enable that like lazy loading. We can use second level cache, avoid n plus one problems, use batch processing, apply pagination. So whatever we have discussed till now, so those are all this type of technique we can use to improve the performance. So if there is question like when to use lazy loading, when to use batch processing, so we already explained this in our previous examples. So you can explain this separately. So next question is that what is the difference between Hibernate and JPA? So it is one of the like most important questions. So JPA is just a standard or the interface. The Hibernate is one of the most popular implementation, you can say. So when we use Hibernate with an annotation like entity, so we are actually using JPA specification under the hood. So we already had one videos on like most asked JPA interview questions. So you can go through this after this interview, and if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section. And thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, and all the best for your interview.